My name is Frankie Guzman. I am a staff attorney at the National Center for Youth Law. I'm also the director of the California Juvenile Justice Initiative. When I was 15, I was arrested for armed robbery, and it amounted to me basically doing a favor for my friend. Unfortunately for my friend, he was 16 years old and had one prior arrest for possession of a stolen check. Meanwhile, at the time of my crime, it was my first offense and I was 15. The prosecutor successfully argued for my friend to be tried in adult court. My friend lost his fitness hearing and was convicted in adult court for robbery and was given a 7-year prison sentence. Fortunately for me, because of it was my first offense and my age, I was kept in juvenile court. And so it was not for lack of trying. The prosecutor tried to get me in adult court and lost that hearing. And after that, he really gunned after me going to the state system, to the Division of Juvenile Justice. Back then, it was the Youth Authority, and succeeded on that ground. And so, when I think about what the prosecutor could have done, in the first place, he could have acknowledged all the disadvantage that I had come from and the reasons for why I had maybe engaged in negative behavior or exhibited some problematic behavior, and should have sought to deal with that. But instead what he did was, he saw a disposable child that he tried to characterize as a menace and did his best to get me to go to prison. Unfortunately for him, or fortunately, he was not successful. But through it all, I did get an extreme result. I went to the California Youth Authority, which is our youth prison system, at a time when we had 11,000 kids in a system designed to hold 6,000, and I experienced more trauma than I ever had experienced in my life growing up in a disadvantaged community. And so for me, a progressive prosecutor would be somebody that would focus on healing, on restoring, and not simply punishing, because punishment, I think, has very little to do with justice. Retribution is just one aspect that the justice system should be focusing on. It should be on restoration and making people whole. So when you think about the case of a victim of violent crime, to not look at the perpetrator as a victim of his own set of circumstances is to be very short-sighted and closed-minded to the reality of the situation. I think you will hear it many times in conversations about crime: hurt people. And if the prosecutor is not focused on healing both parties, the defense, the defendant and the so-called victim, then he's not doing, or she's not doing her job. And so for me, a prosecutor that does not focus on healing, that does not focus on restoration of all sides, is an irresponsible and unaccountable person. To put it bluntly, I believe that prosecuting kids in the adult system is immoral, unethical, and unjust, and it needs to stop. If for no other reason, because it's disproportionately impacting Black and Latino youth, young people who are, because of our history in this country, perceived as less deserving and more dangerous. And because of that, we oftentimes bear the brunt of our harsh criminal justice practices. But through it all, as an attorney, I see young kids with privilege, kids with means, be diverted out, be given these opportunities to make good with their life in spite of having committed serious crimes, and do well with themselves. And so for me, there's no question that all kids can benefit from rehabilitation. The fact is that some kids, Black and Latino kids who look like me, don't get those opportunities. And because of that, I decided to make my life and my career meaningful in a way that would help people like me coming after me have chances that I never got.